Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Detractors to the fight for the liberation of the Republic of Amba from the colonial chains of La Republic should now know that they are laboring in vain with the unison in Ambazonians in the respect of the Monday lockdowns. The respect of the Monday ghost towns is proof that the people are tired of the marginalization they have endured from the hands of the colonial La Republic's government agents. Yesterday, Monday, August 28, was another highly observed ghost town in the entire Amazonia. And today, the streets in Amazonia are once again full with industrious Amazonians going about their day to day lives. While it is no news that Amazonians from time immemorial have been industrious and also the breadbasket to not only Amazonia, but also the neighboring La Republic du Cameroon as a government and the colonial La Republic du Cameroon agents in Amazonia. Any La Republic colonial agents transferred to any part of Amazonia is always glad for such transfer to a land with milk and honey. As corrupt as La Republic is, unfortunately, the mindset has made them employ all their energy only for money making opportunities in Amazonia, precisely extortion. The colonial La Republic authorities in Amazonia, from the civilians to the military, devise all sorts of unorthodox means to extort money from Amazonians. How did they do it this time? We'll find out only in the full briefings of Undaunted tonight, just after the prime headlines.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. We will take an overview of yesterday, Monday, 28th ghost town observed in Amazonia. Colonial Oko Brigade commander kidnapped 600 civilians and demands ransom. We'll get detail of that particular report. Mbengui Colonial DO accused traditional rulers for not championing the cleaning of premises in preparation for back to school. And of course, the interim government has its own stand on that. We'll look into that report as well. Denizens of my 90 Bamenda local government area go for 7 months without electricity. And all the Africans seen Sudan's RSF floats peace plan as army chief says a no deal with traitors. And all the foreign scene, India wants African Union to join G20. Gab Ellison has a lot for us from the sports. But before then, let's get the news in detail.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real warhorse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments as an ABC Amba TV Club member, a cappella. Latest Nigerian stroke African movies, global politics, ABC Amba News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amba News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, Inter-Intro-Governmental Debates on Topical Issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's Position, The Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASCE. Health is Wealth, Health Education and Awareness within the Ambazonian Community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation Prayer and Intercessory Ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Amba. Our Freedom, Spiritual Awareness and Education for the Ambazonian Community with Pastor Victor Amba and Pastor Commando. Church and Politics, Neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the Voice of the Ambazoman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Emerging Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus, only on ABC Amba Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com/subscribe.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real warhorse of our struggle. To grow it, expand it higher and train more hands and broadcast around the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amba TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian stroke African movies, global politics, ABC Amba news and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amba News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's Position, The Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASCE. Health is Wealth, Health Education and Awareness within the Ambazonian Community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation Prayer and Intercessory Ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Mba. Our Freedom, Spiritual Awareness and Education for the Ambazonian Community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando. Church and Politics, Neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the Voice of the Ambazonian Woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Emerging Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus, only on ABC Amba Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com undaunted.com/subscribe.
Detractors to the fight for the liberation of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia from the colonial chains of La Republique de Cameroon should by now know that they are laboring in vain with the unism in Ambazonia in the respect of Monday's lockdown. The respect of the Monday's ghost town is proof that the people are tired of the marginalization they have endured from the hands of the colonial La Republic, the Cameroon government agents. Yesterday, Monday, August 28th, was another highly observed ghost town in the entire Amazonian. Businesses, markets, and offices were all shut as the people remained indoors with ghosts in control. Why is Monday ghost town still having such unflinching support? Now, let's on it. How are you doing, Star?
Very well, Oni. Good evening, Ambazonians. Well, for 6 years and counting now, the Monday lockdown is still effective as in the days of inception. Yesterday, Monday, August 28th, was another highly observed ghost town in the entire Ambazonia. Businesses, markets, and offices were all shut down as the people remained indoors with ghosts in sight. Undaunted visited one of the La Republique Police extortion posts at Council Junction in Tarincon out of curiosity, only to find out that even the colonial occupational La Republique policemen were not there. Another day for them to remain with empty wallets. Mondays should be a high day for them.
Well, this one extortion post grounded by the Monday Ghost Town paints a picture of all the other extortion points in Ambazonia. Monday's lockdown is indeed paralyzing big La Republic de Cameroon activities in Ambazonia. The Republic de Cameroon coffers are losing a lot of monies on Mondays as Ambazonia is concerned. Undaunted was able to reach the Council Junction only on foot as all means of transportation were grounded as transporters observed the call for lockdown. Passing through the Tarinco market, as is always the case on Mondays, the market was locked. Well, Amazonian from time immemorial has been the breadbasket to not only La Republique de Cameroon as a government and the colonial La Republique de Cameroon agents in Amazonia. Any La Republique de Cameroon colonial agents transferred to any part of Amazonia praises the heavenly God for sending him to a land with milk and honey. This mindset has made them employ all their energy only to money making opportunities. The colonial La Republic de Cameroon authorities in Ambazonia, from the civilians to the military, devise all sorts of unorthodox means to extort from Ambazonians. To make some money for himself, the colonial brigade commander of Oko has kidnapped 600 innocent Ambazonian civilians and is collecting ransom before freeing them. Is this different from banditry?
Well, you might is really different. The colonial Oku brigade commander is feeding fat on the sweat of the civilian population of Oku as the population gnashes their teeth. As reported by the pilot newspaper, the colonial Oku brigade commander has kidnapped 600 sons and daughters of Oku, with their only crime being that they are of the southern Cameroon's Amazonia, while he only releases after ransom has been paid. This is the only reward that the La Republic government can give to the people of Oku after one of their sons, the person, the in-house slave Philemon, served the colonial La Republic government as prime minister. The colonial La Republic regime of Paul Biya is indeed displaying some art of cruelty to the Amazonians.
And moving on, the colonial divisional officer for Mbengui, Ingida Lawrence, cannot reduce the custom of the tradition to errand boys. He is frowning at the traditional rulers of Mbengui for not championing the cleaning of school premises in preparation for what he termed effective back to school. The schooling stopped in these institutions because they were not cleared. Some factors made these schools shut their doors. This is a place of this colonial republic their head their addressing of the initial factors rather than seeing traditional rulers as the reasons for La Republic to Cameroon schools not functional in Bengui. Why can't he? the colonial deal not mobilize the College of Occupational Law Republic to carry military around him to do the clearing of those school premises.
Well, the Colonial Divisional Officer for Mbingui, Ngida Lawrence, has accused traditional rulers of Mbingui for not supporting effective school resumption coming September. The Colonial Divisional Officer says that the traditional rulers are not championing the cleaning of school premises as is the case in other places. To the Colonial La Republic government agent, the traditional rulers are not in support of school resumption and by extension supporting voices that are against the functioning of La Republic run schools.
Paradoxically, you made mention of the fact that some funds have abandoned their palaces and are now refugees in La Republic de Cameroon town. How can he expect a fund who has cut links with his people to champion the clearing of school premises? This is the same deal that after his installation took off by selling shops for not operating on Mondays. Today he has realized that no amount of pressure can kill the Monday spirit.
Moving on, denizens of Mile 90 Bamenda local government area have been going 7 months without electricity. Did you know this? Well, according to information gathered from some inhabitants of the area, the problem of electricity has been prolonged for so long because of the Colonial La Republic Power Supply Company, NEO, which no longer collects electricity bills due to fear since the Amazonian War of Independence broke out. And as a result, they hardly do repairs in the suburbs, leaving it in the hands of the community. Inhabitants of Mount 90, a locality in Bamenda local government area, Mezam, have been expressing concerns over the issue of blackouts due to lack of electricity, which they have been facing for more than 7 months following a fault on the transformer that supplied the entire area. And since then, the La Republique de Cameroon's electricity supply company, NEO, has not come back for repairs, and the situation has reached a point where each household in Mount 90 has to contribute a sum of 30,000 francs CFA and 5,000 francs CFA per store to purchase a new transformer for the community.
The people of Mine 90 are making all efforts to bring back electricity to their area. They are hoping to get the problem resolved as soon as they raise money and buy a new transformer. It is worthy to note that Mine 90 is not alone suffering energy crisis. Most localities in neglected Amberland today depend on solar energy to make ends meet since Colonial La Republic de Cameroon's energy supply company has been a failure. All right, here is an important announcement for your listening pleasure. Tomorrow, Dr. Mungwa will interview the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, President Samuel Ikome Sako. And the topic is critical issue on diplomacy self-defense. Remember, this is a critical time and more strategic discussions would have to be employed. And Dr. Mungwa would be having that important interview with President Sako tomorrow, Wednesday, 30th of August 2023. And the time is 8 p.m. Amber time. All right, do well to join this conversation because time will be given to you to ask questions and, of course, share your thoughts. Coming up next, African Report.
In North Africa, Sudan's RSF floats peace plan as army chief says no deal with traitor. The head of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, has proposed a plan for lasting peace in war terms as his rival army chief promised victory and no chance of a deal with traitors. Mohammed Hamdan Hemeti Dagalo, the head of the RSF, late Sunday published a 10-point plan by the paramilitary group that proposes new negotiations to end the war that began in mid-April, a war he claimed the RSF did not seek or initiate.
All right, looking at East Africa, let's look at Kenya. Specifically, legislation recently proposed in Kenya's parliament would provide a framework for reducing carbon emissions by buying and selling carbon credits locally. Victoria Munga reports on one Kenyan manufacturer who is making cooking stoves designed to lower emissions.
And in West Africa, still on Niger's coup, while the French ambassador seems to defy the junta's order to leave Niamey, a lot of other political happenings have been going on, like some ECOWAS state politicians cautioning against the use of force and urging dialogues, and others insisting Washington pushes for mediation.
Well, from observation, Niger was, in many ways, one of the West's last and best hopes for a failing decades long counter-terrorism campaign in the Sahel region of Africa. The West African country, though struggling with poverty and instability, was led by a democratically elected leader with a pro-Western orientation. This crisis, according to observers, should not have come as a surprise. Only the past decade efforts aimed at destabilizing the Sahel, led by France and backed by the United States, have steadily weakened the region's civil institutions and failed to deliver security.
Well, from fact, they swept military rulers into power in four of the five Sahel states after the West withdrew support for those new regimes. The juntas in Mali and Burkina Faso turned to Russia for security assistance. The West appreciation of Bazoum was detached from reality on the ground in Niger, where he faced rising discontent since he took office in 2021.
All right, on the foreign scene, let's start with global war. Now, F-16 fighting Falcons that Ukraine is set to acquire has destroyed Russian jets during the Libanian war. Ukraine recently heaved a sigh of relief as it finally secured the approval from the United States for a third partner country transfer of the F-16 fighting Falcon fighter jets to Russian war.
Now, on world economics, BRICS member India ditches US dollar purchases a million barrels of oil with rupees for the first time ever. BRICS member India has reportedly purchased United Arab Emirates using its national currency for the first time ever. In July, reports surfaced that India and the UAE have inked an agreement that allowed the BRICS to use rupees instead of the US dollar.
World politics. The Fulton County charges against Donald Trump face a major test on Monday. Now, here's what to watch for. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis will lay out the first detail of her sprawling anti-racketeering case against former President Donald Trump, his White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and 17 other co-defendants at a federal court hearing on Monday morning.
And on to this very trending report over the weekend, Russia has confirmed the death of Wagner chief Prigozhin after genetic test. Russian investigators have confirmed his death, Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of the mercenary group Wagner, in a plane crash earlier in the week based on results of genetic test. Svetlana Petrenko, spokesperson of the country's investigative committee, said in a statement on Sunday that forensic testing identified all 10 bodies recovered at the site of Wednesday's crash, and the findings confirmed to the manifest of the plane.
Well, Russia's Civil Aviation Authority earlier this week said Prigozhin, along with some of his top lieutenants, were on the list of the passengers and crew members. Prigozhin, 62 years, was killed 2 months after he mounted a mutiny against Russia's military that President Vladimir Putin decried as treason. The Russian president sent his condolence messages on Thursday to the family of those who died in the crash. And moving on to the main report of tonight, India wants African Union to join the G20, the G20. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi called Sunday for the African Union to be made a G20 member, while also pitching his country as a solution to supply chain woes ahead of the bloc summit in New Delhi next month. The group of 20 major economies consists of 19 countries and the European Union EU, making up about 85% of global GDP and two-thirds of the world's population. But South Africa is the only member from the continent.
Now, in December, US President Joe Biden said he wanted the African Union to join the G20 as a permanent member, adding that it had been a long time coming, but it's going to come. Well, on Sunday, current G20 host Modi also called for including the Pan-African bloc, which collectively had a $3 trillion GDP only last year. We have invited the African Union with a vision to give permanent membership, Modi said at B20, a business forum and prelude to the September 9 to 10 G20 summit.
Headquartered in Ethiopia capital Addis Ababa, the EU at full strength has 55 members, but 5 junta road nations are currently suspended. Modi also said India was the solution to creating an efficient and trusted global supply chain following disruptions during the coronavirus pandemic, with New Delhi working to bolster manufacturing to compete with China. The world before COVID-19 and after COVID-19 has changed a lot. The world cannot view the global supply chain as before, Modi said. That is why today, when the world is grappling with this question, I want to assure that the solution is this problem and is India.
But relations between the world's two most populous nations nosedived after a deadly Himalayan border clash that killed 20 Indian soldiers and at least 4 Chinese troops in 2020. Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping held a rare face-to-face meeting on the sidelines of a summit on Thursday, with Beijing saying they held candid and in-depth talks to ease tensions along their disputed.
All right, you're welcome back. Before we get into the sports studio with Gab Ellison, this is just a gentle reminder again that tomorrow we are having a very important discussion. Of course, SOS Martin Mungor, and the topic for tomorrow is critical issues on diplomacy and self-defense. He will be interviewing the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, President Samuel Ikome Sako, and of course, tomorrow, Wednesday, and the time is 8 p.m. Amba time. And of course, it will be live on C Undaunted, please. So ensure you make time to join this conversation with SOS Martin Mungwer as he interviews President. Announce pause.
Coming up next is Gabellison to give us a lot of details on sports because protested in Madrid to demand exit of Rubiales from Spanish Federation. That's an interesting story there. Let's have Gabellison tell us more.
Latest world sports. Football. Protesters gather in Madrid to demand exit of Rubiales from Spanish Federation. Public sentiment against suspended RFEF President Luis Rubiales continues to swell in Spain as one of the main squares in central Madrid saw protests against his continued presence as part of the federation. Rubiales has been suspended for 90 days by FIFA, while the Ministry for Sport are also taking action to try and suspend Rubiales too. The RFEF regional heads met on Monday evening and have formally asked for his resignation too. On Friday, there was a small protest at RFEF headquarters in Las Rosas on the outskirts of Madrid demanding Rubiales' resignation following his refusal to hand it in following Friday's General Assembly. On Monday, more protests were on the cards. Rubiales' mother has barricaded herself in a church in his hometown of Montreal, going on hunger strike until the witch hunt of her head. There was also a small protest supporting Rubiales, chanting, "With you, Luis Rubiales." This was dwarfed by a large protest in Callao, one of Madrid's central squares, where several hundreds gathered to demand Rubiales' resignation. They sported signs saying "With you, Jenny," and chanting, "It's not a peck, it's assault." Large amounts of people were on show in feminist support for Hermoso and her teammates, the same color used on International Women's Day. Protesters remarked that they were hoping to celebrate the success of the women's team in the World Cup, but also to support them in their against sexism and feminism. The Spanish government have reacted strongly against Rubiales' behavior since the World Cup sessions, pursuing the avenues available to them to suspend him. The overwhelming majority of reaction has seen Rubiales condemned since his stunning declaration that he will not be resigning on Friday. Tennis. US Open 2023. Novak Djokovic to replace Carlos Alcaraz as world number one after win. Novak Djokovic will replace young rival Carlos Alcaraz as the men's world number one after a routine win on his US Open return. Serbia's Djokovic, who lost the Wimbledon final to Alcaraz, won 6-0, 6-2, 6-3 against France's Alexandra Muller in Monday's night session in New York. Djokovic, 36, was not allowed to play in the United States last year because he was not vaccinated against COVID-19. He has returned, knowing another title scored equaling 24th major. Matching Australian Margaret Court's all-time tally is Djokovic's target, and he made a statement start by breezing past 84th-ranked Muller. I started tremendously well. We started quite late, but nevertheless, I was excited to go out on the court. It has been a couple of years, said Djokovic, who will spend a record-extending 390th week at the top of the ATP rankings. In the second and third sets, I dropped the level of my serve and I had to work for the points a bit more. Nevertheless, I played great and I liked the level. Having not started until 2300 local time, the three-time US Open champion showed he did not want to hang around and only dropped 8 points in the 23-minute open set. The smiling Muller raised both arms in celebration when he finally got on the scoreboard for 2-1 in the second set, but the 26-year-old could not stop Djokovic from moving farther ahead. Muller offered more resistance in the third set before Djokovic won the final 4 games to wrap up victory in 1 hour and 34 minutes. Djokovic, who won the Australian Open and French Open earlier this year, is aiming for a 4th title at Flushing Meadows and will play Spain's Barnaby Zapata Miralles in the second round. He will return to world number 1 after the tournament. Top seed Alcaraz, 20, won his first major at the US Open in Djokovic's absence last year and starts the defense of his crown against Germany's Dominik Koepfer on Tuesday. Alcaraz and Djokovic are the joint favorites for the men's singles title, having developed a fascinating rivalry over the past 12 months. It was bubbling at the start of the season, but without both present at key tournaments, there was little chance for the pair to go toe-to-toe on the court. Now the matchup has ignited over the past few months following 3 compelling contests in the French Open semi-finals, the Wimbledon showpiece, and this month's Cincinnati final. Alcaraz and Djokovic cannot meet at the US Open until the final as a result of being the top 2 seeds. US Open 2023. Maria Sakkari could smell weed doing shock first round loss. World number 8 Maria Sakkari said she could smell weed on court during her straight set loss to Rebecca Mazurova at the US Open. Sakkari, 28, was beaten 6-4, 6-4 by the Spanish world number 71 in the first round of the final Grand Slam of the year. The Greek was leading 4-1 in the first set at Flushing Meadows when she signaled the umpire of the scent. "Oh my God, I think it's from the park," said Sakkari. Cannabis is a Class B drug in the UK and is illegal to possess, distribute, sell, or grow, but it is legal in New York State for adults 21 and older. Sakkari's loss was her 3rd successive first-round exit at a Grand Slam, as she also fell at the hurdle at the French Open and Wimbledon this year. Despite making her complaint to the umpire during the defeat, Sakkari insisted she was not using the smell as an excuse. Sakkari said in a post-match news conference, "We were practicing here yesterday and it was the same. It wasn't the smell that affected the scoring. It was just a comment because it was smelling quite a lot, but it has nothing to do with the match." Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that sports report. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories.
On Undaunted tonight, we brought you another successful Monday ghost downs yesterday. Also, the Colonial Oku Brigade commander kidnapping 600 civilians and demanding for ransom. Bangui Colonial DO accused traditional rulers for not championing the cleaning of premises in preparation for back to school.
Right tonight, we told you that denizens of Mine 90 Bamenda local government area go for 7 months without electricity. On the African scene, we told you that Sudan's RSF floats peace plan as army chief says no deal with traitors. And on the foreign scene, India wants African Union to join G20. Now, just a reminder, tomorrow Dr. Martin Mungor interviews President Sako, and I'm sure that you do not want to miss that interview. On behalf of my co-anchor, Sir Smart, and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless you.